No one would have guessed Amber Heard had stepped away from the glitzy galas to teach a pottery workshop at an orphanage. Amber Heard had visited countless places in her life, film sets, award shows, charity auctions, but none of them had the charm and hopeful chaos of Evergreen Orphanage on a late Saturday afternoon. She arrived discreetly, driving herself in a quiet, unassuming sedan rather than the typical chauffeured car. The staff, used to occasional volunteers, blinked in surprise at the slender figure hauling bags of clay, glaze, and a portable pottery wheel from her trunk. They half expected paparazzi at her heels, but none appeared. She had come solely to make good on a promise, to guide the children through the messy, magical world of pottery. Inside the orphanage's main corridor, kids lined up in excitement, peeking around corners with wide smiles. During her previous visit, Amber had introduced them to molding clay, teaching them how to knead and shape lumps into pinch pots, cups, or figurines. Those pieces had since been fired, courtesy of a borrowed kiln from a local craft center. Now came the final step, painting and glazing, an opportunity for the children to see their rough shapes come to life in vibrant color. Amber carried the trays of recently fired pieces into a makeshift art room, a bright space with murals the children had painted over the years, featuring rainbows, animals, and whimsical scenes. Several battered but sturdy tables had been dragged in, covered with plastic tarps to protect them from paint drips. The kids, about 15 in total, hurried in after her, faces already glowing with anticipation. Some brought their earlier clay masterpieces to show off, wobbly creations that might have been lopsided but were cherished as labors of love. She greeted each child by name, remembering them from the prior workshop. Mateo, the shy 7-year-old who had tried to form a dragon, clutched his funny, caterpillar-like piece. Rosa, a quiet 12-year-old, held a small bowl she'd crafted with surprising evenness. Amber beamed at them all. "Who's ready for colors?" she asked, pulling out a selection of acrylic paints and glazes. The squeals of excitement echoed down the hallway, summoning 2 more children who'd been reluctant at first but now wanted to join. With help from Ms. Rosario, the gentle caretaker who oversaw day-to-day life at Evergreen, Amber laid out brushes and sponges. She explained how certain glazes could give a shiny, glass-like finish once heated again, while some simpler paints could work for immediate color. "Sometimes a little imperfection is perfect," she reminded them, referencing the lumps and ridges some kids had worried about. "We want your own style to shine through." The kids dove right in, swirling brushes in bright blues, reds, yellows, layering thick strokes that sometimes blurred into unintentional shades. Laughter bounced off the walls each time a child discovered a new hue or accidentally splattered paint on a friend's piece. Amber wove between tables, praising those who tried mixing unusual colors or adding imaginative details. One boy, enthralled, decided to paint tiny scales on his dragon, methodically dotting it with green spots. Mateo hovered near Amber, carefully adding eyes, made from daubs of black paint. "I think he looks scary now," he announced proudly, prompting her to mimic a frightened face that made him giggle. As the session progressed, Ms. Rosario took a moment to snap a few candid photos from the corner. She couldn't help but marvel at the sight of a Hollywood star, hair tied back in a messy ponytail, wearing an old apron flecked with clay residue and paint drops, guiding children with total focus. The kids, oblivious to Amber's usual celebrity aura, treated her like any friendly teacher. They teased her about her own piece, a slightly dented cup she'd been painting bright turquoise. She laughed at herself when it developed a crack. "Look, we both messed up in our own ways," she joked to a girl whose figurine had lost an ear. "But we keep going, right?" Partway through, Ms. Rosario ducked out to answer the orphanage phone. Within minutes, she returned wearing a complicated expression. "Amber, a local reporter's outside. She heard you were here again and wants a quick statement," she whispered apologetically. Amber sighed lightly, mindful of not wanting to turn the day into a media circus. But she also recognized that the orphanage could benefit from some positive exposure. She gently excused herself, stepping out into the hallway, leaving the kids happily engrossed in painting. Outside the office, a polite reporter from a small-town paper greeted Amber. He posed a few questions about what had brought her back. Amber responded candidly, I promised these kids I'd help them finish what they started. We shaped clay last time, now it's time for color. I'm no expert, but I do love seeing how art sparks their imaginations." The reporter's eyes lit up, sensing a heartfelt angle. He inquired whether she planned more visits, and Amber confirmed, "This isn't a one-off. They're already talking about future projects, maybe mosaic tiles, or we'll try some basic painting on canvas. Whatever keeps them inspired." The exchange lasted mere minutes, overshadowed by the call of a child from the art room. "Amber, come see my bowl." She smiled at the reporter, thanked him, and hurried back inside, her heart pulled by the energetic voices. No heavy paparazzi presence materialized. It was just a quiet local interest story that might appear in the next day's paper under a modest headline. She appreciated that this wasn't about making headlines, but about fulfilling a promise. Back in the art room, the children's creations had taken on an array of vibrant colors, some layered with comedic mismatches, others delicate and thoughtful. Mateo insisted on giving Amber's cracked cup a makeover, dabbing purple polka dots over the turquoise base to cover the boo-boo. She let him, laughing at how quickly her piece turned into a colorful fiasco. A teen named Carlo asked for tips on adding fine details to a figurine shaped like a small cat. Amber showed him how to anchor his elbow on the table for stability. "Painting tiny lines is kind of like applying eyeliner in a moving car," she joked, drawing snickers from the older kids who got the reference. As evening approached, the courtyard started to glow with the orange of sunset. Ms. Rosario carried in trays of sandwiches and juice, offering a simple dinner for everyone who'd been too absorbed to notice hunger. The kids took a break, discussing final touches they wanted to add. Meanwhile, Amber rinsed her hands, chatting with a staff member about the orphanage's future plans, maybe a small fundraising event to renovate the old playroom, or perhaps weekly art lessons if volunteer teachers could be found. Sunset deepened, and one by one, the children placed their newly painted pottery on drying racks. They admired each other's pieces, pointing out funny color combos or impressed by unexpectedly neat designs. The sense of achievement in the room was tangible. As if on cue, Ms. Rosario whispered a thanks to Amber, eyes brimming with gratitude. Amber gently patted her shoulder, murmuring that the kids had done the real work. She was just a guide. Finally, the workshop came to an end. Many kids rushed to gather around Amber for farewells, some hugging her waist, others brandishing painted figurines they were proud of. She took the time to ask each child about their favorite part of the day. Rosa mentioned how painting made her feel calm. Carlo was excited to show his figurine to his bunkmate, while a younger girl giggled that her rainbow cat turned out super weird, but so awesome. Amber gave each one a big, final grin, praising them for their courage to experiment. After packing up her supplies and leaving behind a fresh stash of clay and paint for them to keep experimenting with, she slipped Ms. Rosario another envelope of financial support, plus a promise to return for more sessions. "There's a whole range of crafts we can do," she said quietly, ignoring how her knuckles and nails were stained in an array of colors. Ms. Rosario gave her a trembling smile, thankful beyond words. By the time Amber headed out to the car, the kids were trailing behind, calling out last-minute jokes or "come back soon." She waved, heart feeling full from the day's unfiltered warmth. A pair of staffers observed from the side, remarking how this single act of sharing time and art overshadowed any preconceptions they'd had about celebrities. Indeed, in that little courtyard, the typical glitz surrounding Amber Heard had dimmed, replaced by a more genuine sparkle. The bond formed over clay, color, and laughter. In the following week, local coverage was minimal, just a short piece in the town paper with a photo of Amber kneeling beside a row of smiling kids holding their pottery. On social media, a handful of tweets and posts praised her for quietly supporting an underfunded orphanage. A national entertainment blog picked up the story, framing it as Amber Heard's hidden day of kindness, overshadowed by bigger headlines but cherished by those who read it. Amber remained discreet about the details, wanting the kids' privacy protected, but her publicist confirmed that yes, she had indeed spent the day crafting with orphans, and it meant a great deal to her. Back in her usual hectic routine, film sets, interviews, the swirl of cameras, Amber found herself reflecting on that workshop often. In a quiet late-night interview, she recounted how shaping clay with children reminded her of the raw vulnerability and creative spark that often gets lost in the shuffle of celebrity life. "There's something grounding about it," she said, seeing them shape lumps of clay into whatever their hearts imagine. "It makes all the noise of fame fade away for a bit." As time passed, the pottery-laden memory of that day lived on in the children's hearts, overshadowing the normal challenges of orphanage living. They displayed their painted creations on windowsills and shelves, a daily reminder of the star who showed up, rolled up her sleeves, and cared more about them than any red carpet that weekend. And for Amber, it was another chapter in her ever-evolving story, proof that sometimes the simplest acts of sharing art and kindness can make a deeper impression than any glitzy premiere, forging connections that spark hope and overshadow any jaded cynicism of the outside world.